So what's happening in Massachusetts is happening in other Democrat-led sanctuary cities and states. And now one headline warns the blue state migrant crisis sparks political disaster for Biden. Mollie Hemingway, Fox News contributor and editor-in-chief of The Federalist, joins me now. Mollie, this is a disaster. I mean, there's just no question about it. And really, there is no sense of urgency, it seems, coming from the White House.
Well, it is interesting, though. President Biden was very clear when he ran for office in 2020. He opened his campaign with a pledge to essentially open the border and reverse the policies, the immigration policies of his predecessor. And on day one, when he took office, he did issue, or he repealed or turned away the executive orders that President Trump had put in place, and really worked to have the porous border that we have now, which enables not just human trafficking, but also drug trafficking and other issues. But he was very clear about it. And so you see all these Democrat-run states and municipalities now being very upset about it, but this was not an issue of where they should necessarily be surprised. The only surprising thing is that blue states are dealing with what a lot of these red border states have been dealing with for many years now.
Axios has an interesting article, and I just want to quote something from it because they explain why it matters for those of you at home that may wonder why we keep talking about this. President Biden is stuck between growing calls to help the Democratic-controlled cities, the politics of the vulnerable issue, and what the administration views as legal handcuffs prohibiting much action. That is sort of a trifecta of where the president finds himself. This shouldn't be about politics. This shouldn't be about placating and trying to make the left happy. You've got left-leaning Democratic cities who are absolutely frustrated. New York City, for example, are full of Democrats. They hate the fact that these illegal immigrants are taking over shelters and areas where our children should be playing in parks. It has nothing to do with being against immigrants. It has to do with Democratic leadership making mistakes and not listening to the voters.
Well, Mollie Line just reported that Massachusetts had declared a state of emergency for handling their migrant crisis that they have there. The New York State Governor, Kathy Hochul, has asked the federal government to declare a state of emergency. You have Eric Adams asking for federal help, but they're not really getting it. And you're starting to hear, reliable allies of President Biden, like Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, saying he doesn't understand why it's taking so long. He's been notifying President Biden for some time. It does not seem, I don't know if it's a PR issue where the Democrats do not want, the Biden administration doesn't want to admit how much their border policies have failed. They really did put a lot of effort and work. It was intentional to do what they did with the border. It wasn't an issue where they weren't just paying attention and all of a sudden we have a migrant crisis. Yeah. No, this was intentional. So it might be hard for them to admit how much they have failed or how much harm they're causing key Democrat allies, but does not seem they're moving on it.
Yeah, and the president hasn't even bothered to meet with some of these Democratic leaders. For example, the governor here, Kathy Hochul, she, I'm sure, would love to have Biden's ear. If he actually came here and saw it or heard from the Democratic lawmakers themselves about what a mistake this is, maybe he would do something about it. But rather than worry about votes, we've got a humanitarian crisis in our own American cities.
Well, it's been bad for years now, and the tempo or the people are getting much more upset about it. So it will be hard to avoid it, particularly because President Biden is heading into a campaign. When he ran in 2020, he had very friendly media coverage. He had a lot of support. Now you've got a lot of these issues. It's not just the border, but a lot of other issues where he's not going to be able to hide from dealing with them as he's trying to win votes headed into the next year.
Yeah, no, certainly. And this could hurt him badly. And that's unfortunate. It is it's purely politics. That's what this is. Mollie Hemingway, thank you. Great to see you always.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you.
You too. Thanks.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.